Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Brandon. I have a doctorate in clinical nutrition. I'm also a certified personal trainer. For my videos, I like to go over nutrition myths, fitness myths, give some foundational information there. I started watching a video today from Greg Doucette going over Jeremy Ethier's video about how to get abs. So I guess this is a review of a review, but anyway, let's get started and give some highlights on. There's some things of Greg's that I agreed on a lot, some things maybe not so much. So yeah, let's get started.
Cardio. But rather than going all out, I actually want the majority of their cardio to look like this.
Guess they muted on accident there.
Coach Greg, and today we're going to see how exactly do you go about getting abs in only 60 days.
This is how much fat Luke has to lose to get six-pack abs. And this is how much fat his wife Nicole has to lose for her abs to pop.
The visuals are helpful there. I think it's hard to relate what 3,500 calories, often seen as a pound of body fat, what that really looks like, what that really means in day-to-day practice, but I like the visual there.
For most people, this could take anywhere from 6 months to over a year.
It's not true. It doesn't take 6 months or a year. I mean, if you're 50 pounds or perhaps 100 pounds overweight, yeah, it's going to take 6 months or a year. But if you're a man or a woman and you're in relatively decent shape, these two people, they don't look morbidly obese. It isn't going to be all that hard. All you need is a calorie deficit.
Yes and no. He makes a good point. 50 pounds, 100 pounds over your goal weight, that is going to take some time depending on the rate you're going for. So really, the maximum recommended weight before you start losing some muscle mass as well is usually seen as 2 pounds per week of fat loss. Um, I would say for someone who's, 10 to 20 pounds over their goal weight, if you're losing a pound a week, that could take 2.5 months then for that 10-pound mark. So it really depends what you're shooting for, where you're starting at.
Most people underestimate just how much fat they have to lose.
I think my body fat's like 23.
If I had to guess, I would be like low to mid 20s.
I've been saying this for I don't know how long. Most people underestimate how much fat they actually have. And so if you
It's really hard. Most of us don't have access to seeing DEXA scans, even if those are reliable or not. We don't really have very reliable ways of determining our body fat percentages. We have BMI, which can be pretty inaccurate once you start gaining muscle mass, or just in general not seen as a super accurate tool. So I don't really blame anyone for not knowing exactly what their body fat percent is.
ask them, what is your percent body fat? They're typically going to say a number about 5% lower than they actually are. If they say they're 15%, they're probably 20. If they say they're 30, they're probably 35.
29.2%.
Holy crap.
And for Nicole,
Oh no.
33%.
They're both obese. I mean, perhaps not by the BMI scale, but by body fat, they're overweight and or obese. 29% for a man. This is not good. This is not healthy. Even though he looks eyed, he only looks eyed because the average person looks like shit. This
I think that might be exaggerating a little bit. I'd say we're probably closer in the overweight realm here.
is not good. It's not bad, but bad is relative. So for her, remember, 33% body fat or more, it's obese. She's 33%. She's hovering on obesity. She's clearly overweight. And so when I say, oh, you're obese, you're overweight, and people get mad at me, I'm talking about people way fatter than this, and yet they still think I'm saying a bad thing. Obese doesn't mean you're 600 pounds. It means you're obese.
And while Nicole is shocked,
So yeah, Greg's just going off clinical terminology, it seems here then. It is not a bad thing necessarily to be starting at a clinically obese point. The goal is to get to a healthy body weight for you that is sustainable in the long term.
women naturally carry 10% more body fat compared to men.
Like, how was she shocked? Did she think she was 20% body fat? I mean, if she's 20% and she loses 15 pounds, what would she be? 7%? She doesn't look like a professional bodybuilder.
In order for both
That's a really good point. So women tend to carry more body fat percent or more body fat just biologically. So if you have a man and a woman side by side, you might think that they're closer in percent than they actually are. A common thought is that you can add 10% body fat for the woman and they'll look close, but it gets complicated when you get lower and lower in body fat percent, like in the 10 and 15 range. So it's not always a reliable metric to go by.
Both of them to see their abs as fast as possible, here's what they'll have to do.
If it's legit a race, like if that's the goal, you need to try to hardly eat anything and do cardio for hours on end.
Now, if you really want to,
Yeah, so if you're going extreme measures, you're going to lose weight, but that's not sustainable. So many people, I've had clients, I know people that will go on crazy crash diets, going over 1,000 calorie deficits of what they're usually eating, going intense cardio and things like that. You might last a month or two, but then you're going to crash and gain all that weight back and maybe more. So you can lose weight quickly, but I definitely don't recommend it if you want to keep that weight off.
you could lose 20 pounds in a month, but if you want to keep your muscle, there is a limit to how fast you should go.
There lies the problem. If you try to lose it too quickly, for example, in 30 days, you're probably going to lose a shit ton of muscle, and that is not good. And so
Yeah, so exactly what I was talking about before. If you're losing weight at too quick of a pace, let's say over that 2 pounds of body fat per week rate, you will very likely lose muscle mass as well, which is a big problem we see in GLP-1s like Ozempic. I've known people that are going on extremely restrictive diets of 800 calories a day and things like that, and your body has other ways of making up for that. You'll feel lethargic, you won't burn as many calories just throughout the day, less activity in general, getting up from your chair, couch, whatever. You won't be moving as much, and your body wants to keep weight on. It is a survival mechanism. It doesn't understand we're in this modern world where we have access to all these high calorie foods. So yeah, I would not recommend going under the minimum calories of 1,500 calories for adult men or 1,200 minimum for adult women.
you shouldn't lose more than about 1% of your body weight per week. If you're 200 pounds, it's 2 pounds of fat. There's 7,000 calories in 2 pounds of fat. And so each and every day, you'd have to be in a 1,000 calorie deficit, which is, of course, a lot, but it is, in fact, doable for most people.
But Luke wants to get abs as fast as possible.
It might be doable, but if that's realistic for the average person just getting into weight loss, that might be a bit extreme. I would recommend starting at a slower pace there.
So we're gonna try to push it. We're setting his target at 0.9% per week.
You see him jiggling around and grabbing the fat, and he's shocked that he's 29%. This is a true 29%. Now, remember, they did this on the DEXA scam, which isn't accurate, but my laser eyes are saying it's very, very close.
Pick what picture best matches your current body fat, and here's how long it'll take you to get to 20% and 15% as a man.
The cute thing is, I'm looking at these percentages, and they're not accurate. I mean, just because you see a photo of a guy, a silhouette, and it says 35% body fat, doesn't mean it's true. Bro on the left that it says 35% body fat, he's over 40. I mean, you really think like the man in this video is only 6% body fat away from being that fat? That man is morbidly obese. He's not.
I mean, when we looked at the guy from earlier, I would say he definitely fits somewhere. 29% seems pretty accurate. He looks a bit less adipose fat tissue than 30%, but not quite at the 25% mark. I think I would agree 35% looks quite a bit more than 5% difference than the man at 30%.
Not just obese, he's morbidly obese. And so you gotta
And it's often thought around the 15% mark is when you can see abs.
understand that these are just images. And why are they covering up their legs? You understand how important it is to determine body fat percentage by looking at a person's legs as well as their back. And so for women, again, the charts look very much wrong. Woman at 35% body fat, she's probably well over 40%. I don't like these images. The woman at 25%, she's probably 35%. And so you can't just look at this. This is who drew this?
So then if we're saying for men around 15%, then yeah, around the low 20% is when we should start seeing some more abs. So I'm not sure how much I would agree with the right side of this.
Did you say, hey, ChatGPT, can you AI me some inaccurate body fat percentages for my Jeremy FA video? And they said, sure, I'll do that. And then they posted this.
90 days, if you can get to 20% or below, and Nicole, if you can get to 25% or below, I'm gonna send you both on an all-inclusive trip to Mexico.
And so what they should have given them was my friggin' cookbook. Y'all know
Shameless
about
plug.
the cookbook. Would it really be that hard if they had my cook? We're going to put you in a resort is that they're overweight. The reason they're overweight is because they're hungry. And the reason they're hungry is because, well, that's how your body works. Ghrelin. It goes up, it makes you eat.
It's not necessarily hunger. So a big difference we learn in school for nutrition is hunger versus appetite. So we often go based off appetite, which is it can be scent, it can be the visual side. It's very rarely most of us are experiencing hunger, you know, when your stomach is growling or things like that. When you need to eat, we usually eat based off schedules and things like that.
And it makes you put on some weight. And so if you can reduce that hunger by taking, for example, GLP Max, it's going to be easier than
Shameless
last time.
plug.
Starting with their diet. And this is where most people screw up. They assume cutting calories means less food.
They don't really assume it means eating less food. They know it means eating less calories. Everyone knows if you just eat broccoli and strawberries and spinach and bird food that, yeah, you can eat a lot of it. But that if you eat
I don't think that's true. So a lot of clients I've had don't know exactly the concept of nutrient density. That if you're eating a lot of foods that are high in micronutrients, so whole foods, plant foods, fruits, vegetables, beans, whole grains, things like that, you can eat a lot more of it on your plate and you won't be gaining weight compared to red meats, processed foods, things that are higher fat, cheese, dairy. You can have a lot less of a portion size while being at the same amount of calories.
high calorie dense foods like nuts, cookies, ice creams, cakes, pastries, and so on.
Another big one, nuts. I've heard so many people think peanut butter is a great protein food. I'm not saying you can't have it in your diet, of course, but knowing that it is a pretty high fat food too, it's going to up those calories really quickly.
You don't get to eat that much. And I also think that everyone knows that if you really want to lose weight, you get my book. If you haven't bought my book and you're obese, you want to be fat. It's not my decision. It's yours. It's your fault. You're not a moron. You know that if you got the book, your life would get easier. You ever heard of the halo effect? Beautiful people that life is easier for them. You don't think that if you lost weight that people are going to think that you're more attractive? Why do you choose misery?
Luke and Nicole both
Shameless plug.
work rotating day and night shifts, which just makes consistency with their diet even harder. So their plan needs to include quick, healthy snacks they can grab on the go.
You know, it isn't
It can be really hard when you're working night shift and your circadian rhythm is out of whack, especially if it's rotating where some days it's night, some days it's not. That can really mess with your hunger cues as well. So they might need to be a little bit more regimented than the average person to really stick to it, really making sure their sleep hygiene is on track too.
all that hard. Losing weight, it doesn't require an IQ of 160 like Mr. Mike has.
And so my IQ is above 160. We don't know how high.
All you have to do is plan in advance. The Kaiko bar with structural integrity, if you enter code
It really doesn't take a high IQ like Greg and Mike are saying. But planning is such a big thing. That's where the battle starts. So if you're going into the day thinking, I will eat healthy, but you don't have a plan in place, how is it going to look different than any other day? Are you going to be tired from work, resorting to the fast food joint on your way home from work? It really involves some type of plan, maybe meal prepping if you don't trust that you'll cook a decent meal when you get home or something like that. Are you bringing food to work for lunch or school, whatever that looks like? Yeah, meal planning is really a great strategy.
CICO, it's 50% off, $20 for friggin' 12 bars, 20 grams of protein. And so you carry the bars with you wherever you go. Donuts, but why would I do that? Like, it's not that deep. Plan your meals in advance. Stop being an asshole. Stop being an idiot. Stop not caring about your health. You're fat because you wanted to be fat. Stop giving me the bullshit about, no, it's not a choice.
Got some strong opinions.
Of course it's a choice. You chose fatness because being fat is easier than planning out a recipe. Cooking your breakfast, buying my cookbook, being fat is easier. You chose it. I did not.
300 calories. So this is sugar-free Jell-O, fat-free Greek yogurt mixed with protein powder, and then just a ton of strawberries.
See, Jeremy, he's showing you the bowl of strawberries and Jell-O and whatnot, 300 calories. Like, none of you who are fat are eating this. Like, you're not. You're eating chips, ice cream, candies, and then you're lying about it. You're lying to your husband, to your wife. You're pretending that you always eat healthy. When you go to fast food restaurants with your friends, you're eating a salad, and then you go home and eat a bunch of candies and desserts. And when it's midnight and your partner goes to sleep, you go down.
So one thing too with foods that are low in nutrient density that this kind of reminded me of, they're not going to fill you up as much, so you'll be craving more later on. If you're eating things like potato chips, it fills your stomach such a small amount compared to your whole foods, your broccoli or whatever stereotypical healthy food, so that you're more likely to eat more of it later in the day. You still won't feel satisfied or satiated.
Downstairs and you start eating a bunch of chips. You are lying to everyone, including yourself. And so if you want to lose weight, stop lying to the world.
But their diet.
Although he does have some blunt opinions there, accountability is really important. If you're only tracking the healthy days, you're likely going to fall off because you're not going to be seeing progress. So be realistic with yourself. Don't shame yourself when you do eat junk food and things like that. It's all about balance, having those good foods and making room for those foods you really enjoy.
Diet alone is not going to be enough.
I also want to mention this. If it's just too hard because you're just so friggin' hungry and you can't get the cookbook, you can't get my supplements, you can't get cardio, you can't get anything. Can you go to Algorex and get a GLP? Have you ever heard of the GLP? You know those
Famous plug.
peptides that help you to not be hungry and to lose weight? It essentially became so easy to not eat that people are like losing all their muscles, their bone densities.
Yeah, so I've talked about this already. GLP-1s often I've known people who will go on too high of a dose, and because they're trusting in the process of losing weight, they're not worried about the side effects of muscle mass loss and potential malnutrition. If you're using a GLP-1 and your diet goes from a lot of processed food to just less food in general, but still most of it is processed, you're not taking multivitamins, eating a well-rounded diet, there's a good chance you're going to start seeing low amounts of vitamins and minerals in your diet, and protein. So definitely wouldn't recommend going on a GLP-1 without some strong nutrition guidance.
Going down. Do you know why that's happening? It's not because of the medication. It's because it works so well that you're never hungry. Do you know how easy it is to lose weight when you're never hungry, like ever? And so if you're using those medications, remember, if you've gone to Algorex, use code Greg to save your tip.
Get the plug.
Algorex, compounding pharmacy, the doctors are AlgoRx. Everything is making it so bloody easy.
I feel like Greg always goes back and forth too with criticizing people who use GLP-1s but then promoting it. I think Mike Israetel has caught a lot of flack from Greg on that one.
And so if you're walking around and you're fat, realize this. Other people don't care. Do you think I care that you're fat? You chose to be fat. Hey, I think people should do what they want. You're an adult. If you want to drink out.
Shame is a big part too. When we're overweight, it can feel like a hurdle first going to the gym and things like that. But most people are not going to be judging you or things like that. It is a really good thing trying to better your health. So most people are very supportive in a gym setting and encourage that.
Alcohol, drink alcohol. It's a class 1 carcinogen. It's poison. You're allowed to poison yourself. This is how the world works. You're allowed to smoke cigarettes. You're allowed to drink alcohol. Those are equally stupid. You have that choice. Did you go to Algorex? Did you purchase my cookbook? Did you get my supplements? If the answer is no, then stop. Full body for about 90 minutes. I train 3 hours a week. That is all. The rest is 10 hours of cardio. Do you not have 2 hours a week? You don't have to train as hard as I do. I'm a pro bodybuilder. But can
Yeah, so he's saying a full body split 3 times a week. That's a great beginner um, split to use. You're getting your all your different muscles used to training, building some mind muscle connection. If you're depending on what your goals become later on, if you're focused more on muscle size, muscle strength, just aesthetics, it can look a little different. But I would definitely recommend full body for beginners.
you train 2 out of your whole freaking week? You don't have 2 hours to train in a gym? Go and tell a lie to somebody else. Maybe you have kids. You can tell your 11-year-olds that you don't
And you definitely don't need 2 hours in a session. You can get a great session in 45, 50 minutes.
have time, and they might believe you because they still believe in Santa Claus. Do you want to keep lying to the world? I have no ability to lose weight. I just can't. And I don't have 2 hours a week to train.
Most people don't know where to start. Often in the beginning, when you're first trying to lose weight, you won't see the number on the scale change. So, especially if you start from eating a lot of processed foods to adding some healthy foods in there, like I said, it can fill your stomach more with all the micronutrients. So, often you'll have more food in your system waiting to be digested, and you'll see the scale go up before it goes down. But it's not fat tissue that is building up. You're slowly losing fat tissue. It's you could have more water retention. Your muscles, if you're having higher quality sugars, carbohydrates, those will fill up with water as well. So yeah, it can be the hardest part is the beginning most often.
Ways is so much time consuming. I don't have the minimum 150 minutes of time to spend doing cardio to live longer than last time, to improve my quality and quantity of life. I don't have that time. Yeah, tell that to your kids when you're older. When you're in the hospital from type 2 diabetes, from whatever disease that you got that you could have avoided had you listened to this friggin' video right.
Again, Greg is very blunt with this, but he makes some good points with preventative care. So if you're doing some cardio, it doesn't have to be as intense as he's saying, but getting your steps in, doing at least something, having some healthy foods, you could really prevent multiple lifestyle chronic diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. So I really would recommend starting earlier than later, not putting that off. But you don't have to dive all in the beginning. It's just getting that momentum started.
Right now, but no, you're so selfish. You're the only one that matters, and so you go on with your day. You watch the video, you X'd out, that coach Greg, he's an asshole. He called me a fat piece of shit. I only called you what you are. If you actually care, prove it. Do something about it. Get the book, get the supplements, go to the Algorax, freaking go for a walk. Put the freaking bloody fork down.
Yeah, if you're someone new to exercise and you're feeling just confused, all the convoluted information you're seeing online, I would recommend just looking up, depending on what your goals are, if it's just fat loss in the beginning, going for walks outside, trying to make that a consistent habit in your day. Maybe after dinner, going for a walk, it's a great way to help with your blood sugar management and insulin sensitivity. If you're interested in going to the gym, looking up some beginner splits, there's some really nice guides. You can do all machines in the beginning. Don't worry that free weights are, you might hear free weights are seen as superior to machines, but you can develop some really great muscle tissue just from machines. You don't have to do anything crazy. Just doing something more than what you were doing previously will show results.
Final component of Luke and Nicole's plan, cardio. But rather than going all out, I actually want the majority of their cardio to look like this.
Why is it that every frigging famous YouTuber encourages fat burning cardio to look like Grandma Josephine going out for a walk? My dad had a heart attack and does cardio faster than this. What is wrong with you guys? Look, I don't want
So, not every day is going to look the same. Realistically, not everyone will be able to spend an hour lifting, an hour doing intense cardio. So, I think finding some balance, if most days look like that, where you can get a nice walk in, slow, steady pace, and then you can add in some more intense cardio, that's great. Or alternate lifting and cardio days. Um, Not everyone has to be a professional athlete when it comes to cardio. If you're trying to get abs year round, that is a sacrifice. That will require some more intention with calories and exercise. That's not an easy thing to keep.
Want cardio to look like this. Shows bro sprinting, looks like RoboCop. Instead of that, you're walking slowly. This is embarrassing. Burning fat should be zone dose 2. Do you know how hard that is? It's a medium pace. How hard did that walk look? I'm watching this video on 2 times speed. It still looks slow. Medium pace. Enough so that you're breathing a little bit deeper. It's not easy, but it's not hard. It's somewhere in the middle. Jeremy thinks cardio is either zone 1 or zone 5. There's somewhere in the
One thing too to think about is the distance you're going. So if you're jogging or running, if you trust the averages for how many calories you burn in a mile, you can cover a lot more distance from a jog than a walk. It's just really that can be a barrier to entry for running. So there's different machines at the gym too if you're willing to go, like the Stairmaster elliptical that people really like. Um, Again, it's the idea of progressive overload where you're increasing intensity over time. So your body gets really efficient if you're doing the same cardio, same pace every day. It gets more efficient at delivering oxygen and it's not going to be the same stressor on your body. So if you want to increase continue breaking those plateaus, you're going to have to increase the intensity over time, whether it's duration, speed, those different factors. So just something to keep in mind. I think it's important to develop a healthy, sustainable approach you like. But if you're not happy with the results, you might have to increase the intensity.
if you're on cigarettes and alcohol, if you're like bro who's on trend, who's not training, do something. Promoting that you have to slow down everything. Slow it down. We don't want to burn many muscle. It's a myth perpetuated by
I don't think Jeremy was saying you have to go slow, just that it's an option.
all the people on YouTube saying what they know you want to hear. Oh, I have to go very easy. That cardio is not that important. Just go very, very slow.
Again, I think it's just a barrier of entry thing. So going slow is a lot more appealing for the average person. I think that's a great way to start. And if you're willing to go a little bit harder, increase that progressive overload and stimulus over time, that's a great thing to do. But you can see results with just something as simple as walking.
Just walk steps, count steps. Like an idiot. Like literally putting butter on a steak. I mean,
I
how
think we
dumb can
skipped
you get? What's
good
next?
part.
I've never gone to jail. We're supposed to applaud you for not having every. We're supposed to.
A bunch of olive oil. Sometimes I put steak sauce on it, and then at the end, I would often take butter, melted butter.
This is a big one. So I see most, if I had to pick out one macronutrient that people struggle with the most, it would be fat intake. Especially with the rising rates we see of high cholesterol, that is something I would recommend addressing sooner than later. Especially because a good chunk of fat intake we're eating, at least in North America, is from saturated fat. So your butter, your dairies, things like that. If you just look at the nutrition facts for 1 tablespoon of butter, I can try to pull it up really quick. So 1 tablespoon or 14 grams is 100 calories and almost 12 grams of fat. So most of us, when we're using butter, we're having more than a tablespoon. So adding that already to a red meat, if that's a regular thing you do, your fat can pretty easily skyrocket. So trying to roast things, use less oil, healthier oils. is really, really important strategy for your long-term health here.
Drizzled on top of his steak. I mean, do you know how easy it is to lose weight when you're eating like an idiot? Like, literally, putting butter on a steak. I mean, how dumb can you get? What's next? You're putting butter on your bread? What's next? You're drinking homogenized milk?
Right. So again, pretty extreme. A lot of people put butter on their bread and things like that, but being aware of how much what you're adding actually does, trying to find if there's any low-fat substitutes you can use that aren't, loaded with preservatives or processed ingredients. It's really hard to navigate this, so that's something I'll talk about more in future videos.
You're using oil every time you cook vegetables? I mean, why not just be even a bigger idiot?
I've been trying to do oatmeal recently, and would do anything to have an English McMuffin or a breakfast sandwich from McDonald's.
Go have.
So yeah, it's about balance. Oatmeal is the most stereotypical food every dietitian loves to recommend. It's a great whole grain that you can add to your diet with fiber, but it's not something, if you're eating the same food every single day, you're going to grow so tired of it. You need some variety in there. So have a McMuffin on the weekend or something like that. Just try to avoid that being a daily thing, because those processed sandwiches from McDonald's or wherever you're getting it, for the amount of food you're getting, you won't be remotely filled up, and you're going to be having 3 times the amount of calories if you just made that like a similar sandwich at home.
Have one. Why do you think diets have to be all this or none of that? It should be sustainable. A sustainable diet, like my diets, like Coach Greg's diets, who've helped thousands lose hundreds of pounds, it's sustainable. Why is that? Because every single day you can have an off meal plan. It's a meal that you get to eat whatever you want. And why is that? So that you don't feel like you're missing out. You don't have to have everything perfectly planned from morning until night. You don't have to weigh everything on a scale. You don't have to measure every little piece. What you should be doing is weighing yourself in the morning, gaining your median weight, and just
So I think Greg also has over 30 years of experience with managing weight and things like that. The amount of muscle mass he has, it's not going to be, he has things pretty dialed in and doesn't need his handheld necessarily with doing this. If you're someone starting to your weight loss journey, it's probably a really good idea to track your calories in beginning to get a baseline. We don't want you to have to track calories for your entire life. It's just understanding the food groups you most frequently eat, what those actually look like, and then seeing with healthy foods that difference. Really understanding what each food does in terms of macronutrients, micronutrients. And then what he talks about weighing yourself in the morning. It can be very defeating starting your weight loss journey and not seeing those changes. So collecting that average over time is more helpful, seeing those trends. Usually when I speak to clients, I'm explaining that you're not going to see the number change as quickly as you will with things like clothes fitting. So do your shirts feel a little bit looser? Can you do an extra belt? Like make your belt slightly tighter. Those are usually good ways of noticing fat changes. Other things for the scale not changing as quickly, it could be water retention. So a lot of people, their salt intake is very high, and your body's going to have all this not artificial weight, but it's going to be skewing the number you see on the scale. So that could be another really helpful thing to look at. If you're eating a lot of processed foods, lots of sauces, they're going to be loaded with salt.
just ensuring that it's generally tracking downwards. You can eat whatever you want in moderation, so long as the majority of what you're eating is actually good.
So far, Nicole has been struggling with hunger and cravings. And as this challenge intersected with the holidays, she was finding it really challenging to stay on target whenever they got together with the family.
You really think she's gonna just willpower her way down to 20% body fat from 33%?
All right, this video is getting kind of long, so I'm going to wrap up with a few comments. One other thing that I wanted to touch on with the difference of weight loss for men and women, a factor I don't think a lot of people consider is height. So men on average are taller than women. So when you think of weight being proportionate to height, if you're someone who is 6 foot versus someone who's 5'2", let's say, kind of extremes from each other. A 2000, and you both eat like pre-packaged meals, let's say a 700 calorie meal. For someone who's 5'2", that's going to be almost half of their daily calorie needs to just sustain basic bodily function, where someone 6 foot, that might be a third of their daily needs or less. So um, it can feel unfair to people of different heights and body frames that the same foods will do different things to your body. On one hand, you need less food to sustain because there's less mass to sustain if you're a short king or short queen here. But um, yeah, just something to keep in mind is that prepackaged meals are not equal for everyone here. And then another point I'd like to touch on is when Greg was talking about that everyone knows what they need to eat. I think that is probably at least a third of my job is talking about explaining the different food groups. A lot of people don't realize what is a nutritious food or what's not. There's so much convoluted information online, different fad diets like, keto, whole 30, paleo. People don't even know where to start most of the time. So that's something we break down a lot. Um, so before we wrap up here, I also wanted to note that I practice with Berry Street Health as a registered dietitian. So if you're interested in nutrition and a nutrition assessment, going over what you're currently at, some blood labs and things like that, if you could provide those, I could do a full comprehensive review, set you on the right path to reach your personal goals. I'd be happy to do that. I'm getting accepted by more insurances. So right now we have Cigna and Blue Cross Blue Shield. I can list some states on the screen that I'm currently licensed for. But yeah, feel free to check. I would highly recommend if you get free full coverage, which a lot of clients do. Um, why not? Why not see if we can get some goals started for you? Um, but if not, thank you for watching the video. Please let me know if there's anything else you'd be interested in hearing some of my opinions about, and I'll see you next time.